Team. If you're building anything outside of your 9 to 5, whether that's coaching, consulting, digital offers, or even applying for roles, personal branding is no longer optional, even for doctors. It's 2025 and the rules have just simply changed. So if you want to make money from an alternative income stream, you need to lean into personal branding. It's just the way the world works right now. We no longer live in a world where, the best qualified person automatically gets the opportunity. We live in a world where the most visible person wins, the most visible expert gets picked. So if you want freedom and if you want options and if you want to be the first person that comes to mind when there's a problem to solve, and that's a problem that you can solve, then you need to be seen. And that's what branding for doctors is going to give for you. And look, we've seen it at work, right? You get there early, you print off the bloods, you get there at 7:30 and you arrange everything, and then the other doctor comes in at 8 o'clock, swipes the blood results from the printer, hands it to the consultant, and he gets all the credit. Well, and I know this because that's a true story. Adam, I forgive you. But the point is, he was more visible. He made himself more visible. We were F1s at the time, and he had this ability to make it seem like he was doing a lot more work than he actually was. And I, who was doing all the work, never really got any of the credit for it. Now, think about it. People like Kanye West and The Rock, they're two different people, but they have two different energies because, Kanye West is unpredictable, he's provocative, he's polarizing. The Rock, on the other hand, he's more disciplined, he's more light, he's more consistent. But here's what they actually have in common. They know exactly what they stand for. You know what they stand for because their message, their brand message is clear. And that's what branding is. Branding is clarity. It is taking the message of who you are, what you do, and what you're known for. And I know you're already probably thinking, isn't branding for influencers or people who dance on TikTok? And that's just not me. Well, here's the good news. That is not what branding is. And in this video, I'm going to break down for you how you can actually move your skills from a place of just skills to a place of clarity and visibility. Because branding isn't about self-promotion, but it's actually about your reputation. But the facts are, if nobody knows what you do or the problems that you solve, they can't pay you for it and they definitely cannot refer you for it. So that's why you need to have a brand presence, whether that's in your career, whether that's in your business, or just making an alternative income stream. Now, if you're new here, this is episode 4 of a 6-part mini-series on designing a career and an alternative income stream to your original 9 to 5. And in this episode, I'm going to take you on a journey to bridge the gap between your skills and being seen for what you can offer. Now, if you're stuck for time, you can hit the download button below and you can get the branding blueprint, which is specifically tailored for doctors, for both careers and in the online space. But if you do stick to the end, I'm going to help you how to craft your brand and authority statement, even if you're an introvert. And if you haven't caught episodes 1 to 3, go and catch up so that you're brought up to speed. I'm Dr. Nix, a consultant anaesthetist, and I'm the creator of the Portfolio Pathway. And I help doctors turn their skills into credibility and then into cash flow. And we're cutting through the cringe of branding and showing you how you can own your voice without necessarily selling your soul. And I'm going to take you on a journey into personal branding in a way that feels good and not cringy. And it doesn't involve any dancing on TikTok. I can promise you that. Now, if you're like me, when I was going through medical school, I was taught that, your qualifications should speak for themselves, your CV should speak for itself, and, you don't really need to put yourself out there, but times have changed. And in a post-COVID world, trust is digital, and that's both in the employment space and in the business space. Before people work with you, they Google you. Before they refer you, they check your credentials. And if you're invisible, you're missing opportunities. If you're unclear, you get overlooked. And even if you're widely qualified, no one's going to be able to book you. So this is why branding matters. I'm going to take you through the 3 main pillars of branding, which are expertise, story, and visibility. Now, who am I and why am I talking about this? Well, I've helped many medics launch online programs, media platforms, get in contact with health startups, and be employed by journals in how to learn and share their skills confidently without sounding like they're bragging. Now, I'm going to assume that if you're watching this video that you want more opportunities, or you want more income without burning out, or you might just want to feel seen or valued, or you want to be known for more than your job title. But you don't necessarily want to feel salesy or pushy or like egotistical or proud, and you don't want to have to market yourself, and you definitely don't want to feel cringe. First, I'm going to clear a few things up. Cringe is just confusion. I'm going to say that again. Cringiness is just confusion, and it happens when there's a gap between what you believe and what you say. And when there's a gap between those two, you're just performing. That is dancing on TikTok. But once you're clear, you stop feeling like you have to perform and you just show up as yourself. And that is what branding is. It is when you show up as yourself and the right people start following you because you will attract people who identify with your authentic self. And so branding is actually clarity. Branding is not a logo, it is not a product, and it's not the colors of your website or how your CV is crafted. Branding is clarity, visibility, discoverability, your story, and expertise. So enough of explaining why you need branding, what it is, what it isn't, and let me break it down for you as a doctor. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through the 3 pillars. And I'll just start by saying branding is built on clarity, consistency, and connection. But the 3 pillars are expertise, that is what you're known for, your story, as in why are you different, and visibility, where can we find you? So your expertise, your story, and your visibility. Now, when I say expertise, you probably automatically think, what is my job title and what are my qualifications? Oh, I'm an anaesthetist, I have the FRCA. But my job title is not my brand, my transformation is. So you wanna think about what problem do you solve and who do you solve it for? And the way you frame your expertise actually increases your perceived value by up to 50%, even if your skills remain the same. And that is evidenced by the Harvard Business Review in 2018. So that's facts. So instead of saying, I'm a surgeon with an interest in nutrition, okay, that's nice. You could say, I help patients and peers understand how nutrition transforms surgical outcomes so they can heal better, faster, and stronger. And that is far more impactful than I'm a surgeon who's interested in nutrition. Or instead of saying, I'm a GP, great, nice to know. You can say, I help high-performing professionals simplify their health without being overwhelmed. So you don't just say who you are, you frame what you do. I'm a GP is not bad, but I help ambitious professionals get clarity on their health without restrictive plans. It just sounds a bit better. It sounds a bit more, memorable and you sound more like an expert. So you want to get specific. What problem do you solve? Who do you help? And that gets remembered and that's what gets shared. I remember getting headhunted from my LinkedIn profile online based on my expertise and how I framed my expertise online. I got headhunted by a journal to come and work with them freelance at that journal. I mean, I didn't take the opportunity because of personal circumstances, but the point is I got a DM about a job just based on how I frame myself online. Now, the second pillar is your story. And this is where you lean into yourself. Why are you different? People remember stories 22 times more than facts. If I ask you what was the opening statement of this video, you probably can't remember. But you probably do remember the story I told you about my colleague taking the blood results and getting the credit from the consultant. And what does that teach you? Stories are memorable. So what is your story? Your story is not your liability, but it is actually a shortcut to trust. And that's with employers, that's with business, and that's with online. So have you been burned out before? Have you switched specialties? Did you take a career break? Did you move countries? Did you have children? They're all golden because we trust people who've been there. Your story builds empathy, not ego. And the magic part of it is that 2 people can have the same skill set, but we're all going to have different stories. And even if we tell the same stories, we're going to tell them differently. And so your story can never really be the same as someone else's. Are you getting to terms with why personal brands are so powerful now? Because they will always belong to you. Whereas if you're working for someone, it depends on the market. So don't water down your story, own it. That is your secret sauce, your story. Now the third pillar is visibility. And this is a powerful one when it comes to branding for doctors. Where are people going to find you? I had a client who was absolutely crushing it offline, crushing it. And when I say, raking in, but online, nobody knew them. They weren't on YouTube, they weren't on LinkedIn, they weren't on Instagram, completely invisible. So it doesn't matter what they were doing offline because nobody could find them. So how could anyone work with them? Now, I'm not saying visibility means being online 24/7. It just means being discoverable. Visibility equals discoverability. He started small. I gave him one platform. I said, focus on this platform. And now he's made over $5,000 in just a short space of time by being discoverable. And this is the power of a personal brand. Now, for you, I'm going to challenge you to start somewhere. I want you to start with one platform and I'm going to talk you through them. LinkedIn, credibility and networking. YouTube, you want for trust and thought leadership. Podcasts are really low pressure, but they can build your authority. And newsletters mean the world is your oyster. You can build communities. It's an asset that you own. And so these are the 4 that I'm just going to start with. Pick one, show up every week, repeat your message, and remember that your goal is not followers, it's just recognition for what you do. It's putting yourself out there for what it is that you want to do. Remember, if you've watched episode 1, 2, and 3, you've picked your skill, you've picked your product, you've picked all these things. Now this is just about putting yourself out there. So one platform, one insight, and one personal story every week or every month. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules about it. Just get going. And that's it. You do that, then you're building trust online. Now, this applies to careers too. So if you're in the career mindset, you do this on LinkedIn. Be known for something on LinkedIn. Start telling your stories. What happened at work today? How are you feeling? People will buy into it. Now, all of you who've been waiting for the authority statement, you've made it to the end. Congratulations. If you haven't subscribed, absolutely subscribe so you don't miss any of the other episodes. And you can download a matrix that can help you do this. The link is down in the description, and it's a brand blueprint that covers everything I've discussed, but allows you to personally build your own brand authority statement, help you pick the right platform for yourself, help you craft an identity that is true to yourself and that tells your story. Now, when you're crafting an authority statement, there are 4 questions you want to answer. Who are you? Who do you help? How do you help them do it? And what do you save them do? For example, I could say I'm Dr. Nix and I help doctors create an alternative stream of income without burning out. Simple. I said who I am, who I help, what I help them do, and what I save them from, which is burnout. Now, I know this might feel like, oh, it's easy for you to say you're on YouTube, but I wasn't always on YouTube. I cringed at the thought of being on YouTube, but here I am. So just try it. You're not bragging, you're just being clear about who you are. Try it on LinkedIn. It's no different to having a CV. It's just that your CV is now on the digital space. That's just the way the world is. You are giving people permission to find you. That is it. Now, if you're an introvert, I understand. I understand. You're thinking, no, I'm just too private for this. I don't want to do this. But introverts are actually some of the best people of building brands online, because when you do speak or when you do have something to say, it's usually very thoughtful and very deep and something that people can relate to online. So it's less likely to be performative, less likely to be fake. And that gap that I spoke about between cringe and confusion usually isn't there, because if you're an introvert and you're posting online, you have a very good reason to. But here's what actually works well for you: writing and podcasts. So if you want to write a newsletter or a blog or a LinkedIn post, probably better for you. Or if you want to do a podcast interview that is structured, that you just have to follow, and it doesn't really require you to really put yourself out there. And then maybe thought leadership is another one. So YouTube could be good for you too if you're pre-recording your videos. You don't have to overshare and you don't have to be loud. All you have to do is be clear, be consistent, and just be a little bit courageous. Because the truth is, people aren't actually looking for perfect online. If you're perfect, it just seems a bit manufactured. They're just looking for someone who gets it. And that could be you. You could be the person who gets it for somebody else, and you should be able to help somebody else with the skills that you have. So here's what I'm going to leave you with. You don't need to be loud to be seen. You don't need to be perfect to be trusted, and you don't need to be an influencer to make an impact. Branding isn't performance, it is just permission for people to find you online and be clear about what you do so that they can find you. Permission to speak, the permission to lead, and the permission to design a career that actually works for you. If you haven't seen my video on how doctors can increase their income, now's the chance. And remember, the branding blueprint is free for the first 5 downloads, and then it's charged. And in the next episode, I'm going to be tackling something that nobody talks about. Everyone says come online and make money, but no one actually talks about how you balance that with medicine, with life, and how you can actually attain freedom without being exhausted or being burnt out. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss episode 5, which will be coming out soon. Until then, be yourself, build freedom, own your narrative. And remember, your next chapter starts with 1 sentence. That is your authority statement. So get it done. That's your homework.